Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to this month's webinar, The Missing Link in Your Digital Fundraising Strategy. My name is Tony Bell, and I'm a trainer for the Sanford Institute of Philanthropy. I'll be your moderator today. Before we get started, a couple of notes. This webinar will be conversational with the opportunity to ask questions during the webinar, as well as a Q&A following the presentation. Please submit any questions you have in the chat box using your GoToWebinar control panel. In the days following the webinar, you will receive an email with the slide deck and recording to review again at your leisure. You've got a cause, learn how to fund it. At the Sanford Institute of Philanthropy, our mission is to significantly increase your fundraising capabilities and the impact you have on communities and society through a proven contemporary curriculum, presented by world-class nonprofit leaders, best-in-class faculty, and renowned philanthropists. We want to recognize our important affiliate partners who provide training and education to fundraisers nationally. Check out the map to find an institute in your community. If you're on social media, please give us a shout out using the hashtag #SIPWebinar and tag us. Now I'm pleased to introduce today's presenter, Mr. Francisco Martinez. Francisco is an educator, speaker, and professional marketing consultant and trainer for the Sanford Institute of Philanthropy. With over 18 years of authentic leadership and marketing experience, Francisco has extensive knowledge in developing, implementing, and directing comprehensive marketing and communication strategies for small to enterprise-level brands. We're really excited about the information he's going to share with us today. Please join me in welcoming the man with the digital plan, Mr. Francisco Martinez. Welcome, Francisco.
Thank you, Tony. I'm really happy to be here. Welcome, everyone. Let's get started. That introduction was awesome, by the way. I appreciate it. So let's talk about the missing link in your 2019 digital fundraising strategy. So you understand, obviously, this is a webinar. It's not a workshop. I wish I had all day. I wish I had a weekend workshop, to be honest with you. So really thinking about what's a missing link in your 2019 digital fundraising strategy. So if you think about your digital fundraising strategy, there's a lot of arms to that, right? So you have search engine optimization, you have your website, you have your email, you have social media, you have networking events, you might have radio going on and other forms of digital marketing legs. So spoiler alert, the missing link in most organizations' digital fundraising strategy is social media. It really hasn't been fully and maturely fleshed out. That said, if you feel like your social media part of your digital fundraising strategy is about 90% there, there's only a few tweaks you can do, not much, you can still get a lot out of this webinar, because everything I'm about to say, all the keys that I'm about to present to you can be thought about to your other channels. Like, okay, how would this work in my email plan? How will this work in donor retention? How will this work in donor acquisition? How will this work to for my other constituents, aka personas? We'll get into that, but I did want to spoiler alert there. The missing link is social media. So this webinar is going to be social media heavily focused, but if you think that, okay, I have this figured out, you could implement that in other ways. That said, I did want to start with a question. Do you have a social strategy in place? Does your organization have a social strategy in place?
Thanks, Francisco. So a poll is going to launch on your screen. Please select your response. We'll review the results shortly. Great. We'll give you a few more seconds to get in your results. Excellent. Thank you so much. So Francisco, can you see those results?
I sure can. So it looks like 46% have yes, 21% no, and 33% are in the works. So that's awesome. That gives us a place to start. Do you have a social strategy in place? So it seems like it's going to be relevant for a lot of folks here. So I'm glad you're here. Moving on. So the missing link number one is your objectives don't map to annual goals. So I did put these links in order of importance. And number one is that the objectives don't map to your annual goals. So before I get into that, A lot of organizations aren't even sure what their annual goals are. Your leadership knows those annual goals. Right now, if you talk to your ED and above, more than likely they have annual goals for 2019, perhaps even 2020. There's usually 6 to 10 of them, maybe 8 goals. So think, okay, we want to increase donor retention by 20%. We want to increase donor acquisition by 20%. We want to increase X, Y, and Z. If you don't know these, it all starts here. Like Francisco, what are the actionable items to do after the webinar? If you don't know your organizational's annual goals, that's where you start. That's missing link number one for any. How are you doing anything if you don't know where you're trying to get to, right? So you think about the arrow and the target. Like, how are you shooting if you don't know what you're aiming at? I know it sounds, that's everybody says that, but it's really true. Is that I really want you to go back to your organization and say, hey, what are the 2019 goals we have? I want to make sure that everything I'm doing is mapping to them. So your objectives don't map to your goals. So let's talk about that. Your social media strategy doesn't live in a silo. So we talked about your digital marketing arms you have, and we talked about search engine optimization, pay-per-click ads, organic search, email marketing, social media, website, any networking events you have to do. They all, hopefully, we talk about the old school funnel, it's all a flywheel. It all helps connect with your constituents. So your social media strategy doesn't live in a silo. Your X strategy, whatever, not just social media, they don't live in a silo. They all work together. So bullet point number one, set your social media objectives that map to your nonprofit annual goals. I already spoke to that. A good way to do it is define your goals. Let's assume you have 8 of them, and I recommend reverse engineering them quarterly, right? So I call them 90-day rocks because there's 90 days in a quarter, right? So Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Let's just have an example for the Sanford Institute of Philanthropy is to increase webinar attendance by 20% in 2019. So that's a goal that the Institute has. Increase webinar attendance by 20% in 2019. Okay, got it. How can I reverse engineer that annually, quarter by quarter? So by Q1, I should increase by 7%, Q2, 7%, Q3, 7%, Q4, 7%, and that over the goal, that'd be 21%. We met our goals. So everything I do in the vein of increasing webinar attendance by 20%, nobody has anything to say about that. How is the leadership going to get mad at me, right, for doing these objectives if all I'm trying to do is marching towards the beat of that drum? And then obviously there's 7 other drums in my example of 8. So I really want you to think about what I'm talking about is that you need to map objectives to your goals. And that's where you start. So, hey, what are annual goals? And they have 10 of them. You reverse engineer everything you're doing in your entire strategy, including your social media strategy to map to that. So the whole premise of this webinar, just I want that in the back of your head, and I'll keep referring to the step as well. Number 2 is bullet point number 2 is define your key performance indicators. What are we measuring? In my example, we're measuring webinar attendance, right? You want to set a budget. What's our budget for increasing webinar attendance? And hopefully you have an amount there. And then we have to get leadership's buy-in. Obviously, hopefully it's already tackled because they're the one that gave you the annual goals. And then obviously you want to allocate resources, mobilize, execute, and obviously adjust. Set SMART goals. Hopefully everybody's heard of SMART goals, right? So bottom left, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. An example, and I have no affiliation to the Humane Society, but an example there, their mission statement is celebrate animals confronting cruelty. A SMART goal could be to increase disaster preparedness kit readiness pledges by 20% at the end of Q3. That could be a goal that they have to map to the objective. Bullet point number 3, an objective would be to initiate a social media campaign to disaster preparedness kit readiness landing page on the website with a call to action to pledge to prepare for your pet. So obviously there's an example of what a pet disaster preparedness kit landing page would look like on their website. And the SMART goal, it's specific, increased disaster readiness kit. I'm looking at bullet point number 2. It's measurable by end of Q3. It's attainable. You would know that because you know if your nonprofit can attain that goal. It's realistic, 20%, and obviously time bound, Q3. So after you get your objectives, what the goals are of your organization, how can you, your objectives for your organization, how can you set SMART goals to meet those 90-day rocks, right? Those quarterly goals. Missing link number 1 is to find out the goals, reverse engineer, find out your objectives, reverse engineer goals to meet them. Missing link number 2 is lack of persona development. I get a lot of eye rolls when I do this in person, and what I hear people saying to me is, persona isn't a new idea, right? So like Francisco, we know about personas, we know about persona development, and my argument is, then why haven't you fully fleshed out your personas? If you know that all marketing begins at personas, then why haven't you fully fleshed them out? And more importantly, why isn't all your efforts going to a persona? So what is a persona? It's a semi-fictional representation of your ideal constituents, and examples are fundraisers, event participants, volunteers, members, advocates, donors, based on market research and real data you collect about your existing and potential supporters. So donor personas describe attributes of people your organization expects to interface with and can serve different verticals within your organization. So what's important about this slide is it market research and real data, and it describes attributes. If I talk fast, and I know I do because I get that feedback often, some of it's on purpose because I'm trying to get a lot of information in 45 minutes, and so you will get the recording and you will get the slides, so just calm down, right? Identify your primary persona. So it's the individual donors. So what we know from 2017 is that 70% of giving was by individuals, and individual giving is up 5.2% over 2017. So we could talk about personas literally all day, but I wanted to identify a primary persona. In this case, an example, I'm going to go with the individual donor just for context, right? So context of this missing link, just so we can think about it, I went social media. Context of personas, I went individual donor. So I'm really just trying to give you context to think about what I'm speaking about, since for time's sake. So you want to start with interviews. So you want to interview existing donors because they've already supported your cause and engaged with your organization. So we're going to read the slide here because it's good stuff. So you want to reach out to varieties of donors. We have one-time donors, reoccurring donors, large gift donors. What I'm talking about now is segmentation. So I'm not just talking about donors here. One-time donors is a segment of donors. Reoccurring donors is a segment of donors. Large gift donors is a segment of donors. So some are likely to exemplify your perfect donor or uncover possible segmentation misses. Get to know what inspires them, right? So what inspires you to support our cause or organization? What inspired you to support our cause or our organization? So be sure to be clear that when you reach out to these individuals that you are looking for feedback and not soliciting donations. We'll keep their personal information completely private. So hey Sarah, I reached out. I really wanted to thank you again for your gift last year. We're doing interviews, and I wanted to ask you some questions such as what inspired you to give to our organization? Do you have 30 minutes? Do you have 40 minutes? Do you have 60 minutes? Can we get lunch next Tuesday? And just I'm not soliciting an ask here. I just want to find out information for you so I could serve you better. And they're like, yes, and then there you go. And there's a chance to steward your donors as well. So personas component. So as you're doing interviews and you're getting questions, what inspired you to give? Why did you give? What are some of your goals? What are some of the roadblocks for giving? You're going to create these components. You're going to get their name, something catchy. I like using donor Dolores, donor Dave, etc. I like using a real picture, so it's right there on your wall at your office. You have your personas, background, basic details about their occupation, relevant background info, education, hobbies, demographics, gender, age, household income, urbanicity. You might have this information in your CRM, your customer relationship management software. Somebody somewhere might have this, so don't start from scratch. But in my experience, most organizations don't have the personas fully fleshed out. They haven't thought about their donors in the subsegments. And then what I'm about to get into is everything specific. Every piece of content, social media, I'll speak to this, but every piece of content, period, should be mapped to a persona. So you can't miss this, and that's why it's missing link number 2. Number 1 was the organizational goals, and number 2 is your personas. So you want to do what goals they have, challenges. So let me just start. You want persona components: name, background, demographics, goals, challenges, how they can help your organization. In the goals, hey, what are some of your goals, Sarah? And then they're like, oh, I want to do A, B, and C. I really want to do impact. I really have a heart for, X, Y, Z. And then I also want to X, Y, Z. Okay, what are some challenges you have? And you'll hear them talk. So we like, Francisco, what do I ask them? You can Google search questions to ask your personas, questions to ask your donor. I mean, Google search these to get a list of questions. But if you don't know where to go, what inspired you to give? What are some of your goals? What are some of your challenges in achieving those goals? And you can just have a dialogue and a conversation and just take notes and then go back to the office and really fill that in, who your donors are. And then how they can help how your organization can help solve their challenges and help your persona achieve their goals. I don't think that's a time and place to say right there in your interview, but these are notes you're going to have. It's like, oh, we could help solve our primary donors' challenges by this, and we can help our persona achieve their goals by that. Missing link number 3, your content calendar lacks purpose. So in content calendar, I'm thinking social media, what we're going to post on Facebook, what we're going to post on LinkedIn, what we're going to post on Instagram, what we're going to post on Twitter. Obviously, that should be calendared out. If you think Excel spreadsheet or think of a calendar, what we're going to post on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday should obviously be calendared out. Hopefully it is, but it lacks purpose. Every post should have a purpose. Now I'm talking social media for context of time and to help the brain flow here. So let's go left to right. Event promotion is a purpose of a post. Organizational news sharing, education could be a purpose. Mission awareness could be a purpose. Brand recognition could be a purpose. To raise funds could be a purpose. Volunteer recruitment could be a purpose. To build culture could be a purpose. To inspire, to engage, and to recognize partners all should be purposes of a social media post. But does your newsletter have a purpose that maps to a persona? Does your website holistically have a purpose that maps to your primary personas? If you, not all personas weigh the same. If your organization has 8 personas and donor is the most important one, then why is your website so vanilla? Why is it talking to everybody with the same amount of weight? It's just stuff to think about. Can you have landing pages? Should you change your website? Can you change your website? Based on our persona interviews, what did we find out? Can we change our messaging? Questions like that. Well, I'll hone us back in. Every post, social media, going back to social media, should have a purpose. I just want you to think holistically too as well. Content examples, back to social media, right? So event promotions, we're looking at the left one here. So the Happy Healthy Nonprofit workshop with Beth Cantor we just had. I hope you were there. It was amazing. So that's an event promotion post. The middle post is engagement. Top of the post says, what new trends do you incorporate at your nonprofit? That's a question. The aim of that is to garner engagement. So let's just assume the Stanford Institute of Philanthropy, one of their annual objectives was to increase social media engagement by 50% in 2019. Back to reverse engineering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post engagement posts 20% of the time across all social media channels. What does that look like in practice? We're looking at it right here. It's that middle post. So Francisco, I don't really like, what yesterday's post is what trends do we incorporate in our nonprofit? I don't think that's really like that doesn't raise any funds. It doesn't help with fundraiser awareness. It doesn't help with this. Oh, one of our goals was engagement. And so that's us trying to read, oh, okay. So I could explain that because it was reverse engineers to the goals. And that was hypothetical, by the way, that doesn't happen. We have a calendar, we have a purpose, and it's all fleshed out. Everything's perfect, right? Fundraising. So your gift can do so much for animals in need. Once again, the Humane Society didn't make this ad, I did. It's just an example. So your gift can do so much for animals in need. Donate to help us now. And then they click there and then they give. So that's an example of a fundraising post. So your content calendar, every post should have a purpose left to right. You have event promotion, engagement, and fundraising, hopefully mapping all to the organizational's objectives we mapped out in key number 1. Missing link number 4 is you don't measure ROI, return on investment, right? So there is a return on every post. There's a return on everything. I'm just talking about social media posts here, but for context of time and thought process here. So a post breakdown. So if you go with your mind's eye, and also it's right here of a social media post. So these are the things that you can measure on a social media post. Top left is the reach. In this example, it's 12,777. Reactions is 49. Comments is 44. Shares is 11. Engagements is 104. Clicks is 153. And registrants was 17. So looking at this as face value, Francisco, we post on social media. What happened on this post? Well, this post organically reached 12,000 people. Like, okay, that's good, I guess. Reach doesn't, pay the bills. Nobody says this. I'm just having hypothetical questions that leadership could challenge you on. It reached, that's good, but what did that really do? Reactions, 49. What are reactions? Oh, they're the likes, the loves, the smiley face, the angry face. Like, okay, that doesn't keep the lights on. Okay, comments, 44. Okay, that's good engagement, I guess. Shares is 11. Like, okay. Engagements total, 104. I'm like, all right. Clicks, 153. Okay, well, how many registrations did we get? We got 17. Okay, that's where leadership will start paying attention to, is that 17 number. Is that 17 good or bad? So let's assume, for the sake of argument, that 17 is good. Then they don't really care that the 12,000 was good or bad as far as the reach. They don't care that you got 49 reactions. They don't care that you got 44 comments, 11 shares, 104 engagements, and 153 clicks. All they're measuring that success of this post and the success of your social media manager is these 17 registrations. I want to argue, what if the registrations was 0 or the registrations was 1? Was this post still a failure? Should you even have a social, it takes a lot of time to put together a social media content calendar. what messaging you have. Clicks like that's somebody's job, a part-time, usually full-time. So that's money, right? In a nonprofit organization, every dollar matters. So let's talk about how I recommend the return on investment is communicating return on investment on these. So look at reactions 49, boom, starting there. That's sentiment. That's likes, loves, wows. Sentiment is how people feel about your brand. In this specific example, sentiment is how people feel about that post. How do people feel? If you ask your leadership, do you care about how people feel about the organization? The answer is yes, of course we care. Then why are you saying that likes don't keep the lights on, that loves don't matter? Why are you acting like it doesn't matter when sentiment, how people feel, does matter? And in this post, to the tune of 49 people, they let us know that they felt good about this post. They feel good about our social media, and therefore they feel good about our organization. And also, it's an algorithm hack. If they liked a post, that means your organic reach, how much you're going to get without paying money, is going to go up. If I liked a post yesterday from S.M.A.R.T Institute of Philanthropy, tomorrow their organic post, I'm a lot more likely, I'm not going to say I'm going to see it, but I'm going to see it. It's going to show up organically in my feed because I liked something of theirs. So it is an algorithm hack, but you don't even have to go there. So sentiment is a good thing, is how people feel about your brand. Relationships, comments. Francisco likes to say, like, you're not going to Google, like, what is likes, loves, and it's not going to say sentiment. That's not on a blog post. It's a Francisco thing, but I think we could understand, like, oh, that makes sense. Comments, I think multi-level marketing here, like comments, relationships drives depth, right? You got width and depth here. How are you having a relationship if you're not having a conversation? How are you building a relationship if you're not having conversations? If you went to a fundraising event or a networking event and you didn't talk to anybody, I'm questioning how many relationships were built. Same goes on social media. Comments to me equals driving depth. You're nailing it down and building relationships. So I'm not like, oh, we got 44 comments. I'm like, oh, we really built relationships there. And that's important. And you could communicate that to the leadership. Shares is digital word of mouth. That's people pressing the share button. Instead of people going, hey, did you know that S.M.A.R.T's having a webinar? Did you know? It's based on luck of people opening their mouths, while pressing that share button not just reaches that one person, but it has the potential to reach that person's following on their page, and so on and so on and so on. So the 11 is not really 11 when you start thinking about reach, which is 12,777. Clicks, 153. 153 people clicked on this post that went to your website. I know in this case it went to eventbrite.com, but for my example, it went to your website. And are you tracking that? Don't worry, that's coming up as another key. And then registration 17, which is your main key performance indicator, and that's how many people registered for that webinar. And was that successful or not? I don't know, but hopefully in key number 1, you mapped KPIs, key performance indicators, for all the organizational goals you had. And then the reach was branding, and I'm really going to get into how to measure branding, but that's how many people heard or saw that post. And my argument is how many people heard or saw the name S.M.A.R.T Institute of Philanthropy in this example. So this is an advertisement. So you see the reach here is 21,000. The reach before was 12,000. So you'll see the difference dollars can make there. I believe it's $150 on this post. There's 21,254 people. The reactions was 272. So if you add up 180 likes, 13 loves, 1 wow, 1 angry face, you're going to get the reaction numbers. You have 41 comments, 36 shares, 242 clicks. 100 of them were photo clicks, 71 were link clicks, and 63 were other clicks. And we're going to get into those in a second. So this is a refresher for you. I want you to listen to what, so I'm slowing down. So we're going to talk about reach. People reached equals what? Branding. Reactions, the likes, loves, wows means what? Sentiment, how people feel about your post or your brand, right? Next is comments. What do the comments measure? Driving depth, relationships. Shares, what is shares? Digital word of mouth. Let's talk about the clicks real quick, because I said I would. The clicks is 71 link clicks is web traffic. That HTTPS bit.ly link on the bottom left of that post is the link clicks. That's how many people clicked on it that went to the bit.ly link, which was Eventbrite or your website. 108 were the photo views. That's how many people clicked the photo just because they were trying to probably go to the link and they clicked the photo, which is fine. 63 other clicks. Where can they click other than the link or the photo? There's 2 places they could click. Beth Cantor's page, which is hyperlinked. Her name is blue. That's how you know it's hyperlinked. Or they could click to S.M.A.R.T Institute of Philanthropy's Facebook page and go there. We're not sure out of those 63 who went where, but that's what the other clicks mean. So in this post example, you'd mainly be interested in the 71 link clicks, knowing that the photo views is the photo, knowing that other clicks is either Beth Cantor or the Sanford's Institute of Philanthropy's page. If Beth Cantor's name wasn't highlighted, all 63 we would have known went back to the Institute's actual Facebook after they saw this ad, which explains why your content calendar should be awesome, because 63 of those people went back to your page to check out, is the Stanford Institute posting quality content? It was part of their decision-making process, so it's important. Missing link number 5 is you don't incorporate web analytics. Don't get scared, okay, about Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a free plugin. It would take anyone, I argue, it would take more than 30 minutes to install free Google Analytics onto your website. Talk to your web developer, search it on YouTube. I learned on YouTube how to do this. 30 minutes, 45 if you really to be prudent, to install Google Analytics on the back end of your website. It's free and it's easy. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be on the webinar, I'm telling you. So you're going to get the recording, like, hey, what would it take to install Google Analytics on our website? Like, oh, that's easy, and let somebody do that. Find somebody to do that, or do that. There you go. Google Analytics. Step 1, select your desired date range. I'm going to go back a slide here so you can see what I'm talking about. In this screenshot here, top right, January 1 through March 31st, that's Q1 of 2019. So all you have to do is click on that box and it's going to show you a calendar, and you pick what dates you want to measure against each other. So that's step 1, select a desired date range. You're going to get the recording and you're going to get the slide, so you'll know what I'm talking about here. So once in Google Analytics, step 1, select your date range. Step 2, click acquisition overview, and it's going to pop what's on the top right of this slide right here. It's going to pop your top channels up. Step 3 is to focus on those. So all you had to do was click a calendar, pick your dates, click acquisition overview, and it's going to bring you to this. The 4 things it's measuring is direct traffic, organic traffic, social traffic, and referral traffic. Let's talk about it. Organic traffic is how many people came to your website organically. Google, it's not, Bing or Yahoo, if they use that. They don't matter anyway. No, I'm just kidding. How many people are searching for your nonprofit, either by name or through keywords? That's how many people are coming up organic search. It looks like in this case, 19% of all traffic came from people organically searching the organization. Direct traffic, I'm looking at bullet point number 2, sub-bullet point. Direct traffic is defined as the URLs that people either type in directly or reach via their browser bookmarks. So if they haven't bookmarked your page, it's how many people typed in Sanford Institute of Philanthropy.org in the URL. If you don't know the Sanford Institute's name, then branding hasn't occurred, and you certainly aren't typing it into the URL. So direct traffic is a direct representation of branding. Direct traffic is a direct representation of branding, because it's not how many people Google searched it, it's typing in the URL the name. So I'm going to go back a couple of slides here. People reached. Let's go. Branding, 21,254. Francisco, you're telling me that we reached 21,000 people during the 3 days that we spent $150. My answer is yes. Well, how did branding occur? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. How do I know branding occurred? Is because the direct traffic went up 18% during those 2 days, 19% during those 2 days. I could click that calendar. Step number 1, select the desired date range. And during that campaign, we call that a flight, the flight of the ad, 2 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, we can measure traffic and how it went up or down. So if branding occurred by reach, then direct traffic would have went up. That's how you know that branding occurred. If you aren't measuring this, I don't know how you're having those conversations. I would question your social media too. Is that we're spending a lot of money, a lot of time. I'm not seeing a big return. 17 registrants for a whole month's worth of activity on social media. That's not saying much. We'll get there next slide. Social media, obviously, is social media traffic, and referral traffic is sources outside of search, blog, or wherever you're at on digital PR, on public relations. If you're in any other magazines, if another organization talks about you or links to you, that's referral traffic. Search is people searching for you. Direct is how many people type into the URL your organization's name. Social is social, and referral is other than that, okay? If you click on acquisition numbers, if I click on direct, organic, social, and referral, they're clickable. If I click on that pie, it's gonna pop up this, and you can see the numbers. Oh, direct traffic was 7,000, organic was 2,000, social was 1,400, and referral traffic was 183. It gives you a much better number of what those were. You could actually look at the date range there. I'm going Q1 2019 over Q4 2018. That's a direct measurement. And there are those green numbers right there. 85% increase in direct, 5% in organic, 114% in social, and a decrease in 40% referral. What can I get? What questions can I ask? What can I answer based on that information? Knowing that direct traffic is branding. Knowing that organic search is people finding you either by searching your name or by finding keywords. Socials, obviously social, and referrals other. What questions can I start asking? So I can click on the source. If I click on direct organic social from here, I clicked on social, it'll show you Facebook. What numbers? Increase was 118%. LinkedIn, you went from 12 to 13. That's not much. I mean, 8% is a lot, but the difference between 12 and 13, is LinkedIn even worth it? That's a good question. Twitter, 9 to 12. Again, that's, I mean, I like these green numbers, Francisco, but if I go deeper, it looks like Facebook's the only thing working for us. That's a good argument. I mean, I have follow-up questions, but at least we know now, right? So that's what happened in Q4 over Q1. You could stop the data right there and just show these numbers if that's what you chose to do, if that's how as deep as your organization leadership wants it, that's fine. Francisco, what do we do for our website Q1 over Q4? It would literally take you 10 minutes to click the date range and screenshot this thing. And you'd be like, oh, this is what we did. That's great. Good. I'm glad everybody's happy, right? Step 7, ask questions. Start thinking of questions because I'm going to have a poll question coming up for you. Our impressions on social markedly increased Q1. Did we do anything? So I'm your boss, right? Our impressions on social went up in Q1 19. Did we do anything else that would account for the increase in organic search over Q4? Oh, so we're saying that impressions went up on social media. How many people saw the reach, right? 1277 went up. Did we do anything else that would account for the increase in organic search? I know that reach and impressions equals branding, and organic search went up. Did we do anything else? Did we do any other PR events? Did we do any outreach? Was there any other ads going on search on Google ads, display ads, search ads? Did we do any direct mail campaigns? Did we have other email marketing campaigns? That's a question that a leader might have for you. Second bullet point, direct traffic went increase. What branding activities does the organization conduct that might have contributed during that date range? What can we conservatively attribute social to? That's a question they could have. So I have a question for you. What are some other questions that you can think of that the data might show you, tell us via the chat box?
Yes, so please enter your questions in the chat box. Francisco has been asking himself a lot of great questions, and now we'd like to hear from you.
Sure, and while you're typing those questions, I'm going to go back a couple slides just to get the ball rolling here. So I'm saying that in this example, direct traffic went up 85% is branding. Organic search went up, people searching for your organization or keywords went up 5%, Q4 over Q1, Q1 over Q4. Social went up 114, referral traffic went up 40, went down 40%. What questions would you want to know either based on that data, or you could think of hypothetical questions, or look at those numbers. LinkedIn, 12 link people came to your website, now 13, 9 to 12, etc. Yeah.
So one of the comments, Francisco, that popped up is, what is ROI on staff time to create social? Does that work in with this particular poll or question?
Sure. So let's say you took the staff, I say the average social media content calendar. I could whip one up in about 10 hours a month. That's what it would take me. I think if you're new at it, I think you could give 20 hours on the month to create a social media content calendar. So 20 hours, hourly rate. I mean, you'd have to do that math that way. If we, whatever, $15 an hour, $20 an hour for 20 hours is X amount of dollars. You're trying to say, is that worth it? Well, was it worth it? Direct traffic went up in this organization's example, 85%. Organic search went up, social went up, referral. I mean, all we're tracking right now is website traffic. I have other questions. How many donations did you get? How many reoccurring people committed to your donations? How many volunteers did you get? What happened with all that website traffic? Did they go to home, about us, resources, donate now? I mean, we're going down the rabbit hole of other questions, but that's exactly what I want you to ask yourself, because this is just a 45-minute webinar that you should be feeling excited that I could ask other questions, and you got to figure out, which is coming up on the slides, slide number 42, and we're on slide 38, on what you should be reporting and what you should be asking.
Great. I think you can go ahead and move on.
Perfect. Slide number 42. Define what's important to your organization, then track and report. I like a dashboard, right? So if you think of a dashboard, when you look down in your car, you know how much gas you have, your oil if you're overheating, you know how many miles per gallon you get, depending on what kind of car you have. Your dashboard looks different. I recommend for organizations when they're first starting out is if I had a dashboard just to look down and check where my organization is, how we're doing on Google Analytics, define what's important. Those KPIs will be found in step number 1 is what's important to your organization, what goals have you already mapped out, and then that'll give you a peek in what to report. And you're not going to get it right the first time, but it doesn't matter because you're going in the right direction. It's better than what you have now, and you're asking more informed questions. Back to slide number 2, you need to get leadership buy-in. Yes, this is what I want, and are you okay? This is how we're measuring it, and you'd be like, oh, and you get into more questions like, okay, do we need HubSpot? Do we need a CRM? We have our website, but do we need heat mapping? Like we had 4,000 people a month coming to our website, but we don't know what they're doing. Like, are they reading our blog? Are they going to donate now? Where are we losing them? What's the user behavior like? This is just questions that getting into Google Analytics will give you. It'll change the face of your organization. Number 6.
Francisco, can you explain what heat mapping is?
Sure. Heat mapping is, I will recommend Hotjar, HOTJAR.com. It's $79 a month per website, and it screen records people coming to your website. And so where their mouse moves, it'll show you where they're clicking and you'll find out on average 70% of people don't scroll down to the second page. That's good information if your donate button or your video or your impact video is on the bottom half. We call that on the second break. If it's past the first break of your page. It'll also heat map the phone, how they interact with your website on mobile. So Google Analytics matched with heat mapping, this will show you what happened, and this will show you heat mapping will show you how it happened, the user behavior. Does that answer your question, Tony?
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. Somebody had asked what is heat mapping, so appreciate that.
For sure. And there is a chance for questions at the end, everybody, just so you know. Number 6, your social doesn't focus on donor retention. Let's talk about it. So donor retention tactics. If you're losing donors just as fast as you're getting them, we're not getting anywhere. So I know that it's a big challenge for organizations to focus on donor retention. So I wanted to focus on key donor retention tactics, specifically on social media. Step number 1, document mission-centric activities. If you don't document anything else, document mission-centric activities. What I mean by document, I'm mainly talking about get a camera out, your cell phone out, do something where you're documenting donor mission-centric activities. What did your organization do that you could film, that you could write about in a blog post, that you could talk about, that you could have some PR initiatives around, so you could add to your newsletter, so you could add to publications, etc. Number 1 is document. A lot of organizations are moving so fast. They had this great event, but nobody has anything. Nobody tweeted at it. Nobody documented it. Both written, they didn't film it. Nobody did anything. It just was great, but if you weren't there, you wouldn't know about it. So the step 1 there is documentation. Document the process. Number 2 is post and amplify through social throughout the year. Let's look at the right example that I made here. A 28 recap. What your contributions helped us achieve. And there's a video. It says renew your commitment, donate now, and that would go to a donate page. So that's something that you could post and amplify through social throughout the year, and you could have a mashup video. Step number 3, invest in video. Adds humanization and emotion to the documentation process. It provides the ability to create quarterly and annually mashups with donor retention in mind. Step number 4, thinking of that picture in step number 4, you could amplify it to donors. You could both post and individual videos and mashup videos. Ads can be targeted via email lists and call to reactions to renew your commitment. We're going to get into ads in a second. So this is what I'm talking about. When I say amplify it to your donors, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. In short, if this ad was a recap video and it says a 2018 recap, what your contributions helped us achieve, and it says renew your commitment, and it went to a landing page, which is a page on your website or off your website, and you had heat mapping on it, how many people saw the video? 21,000. How many people clicked on the video? Whatever, 500. And how many people renew their commitment? And what if you only sent that to existing donors and you have that information in your email list? Hopefully you're segmenting them. Hopefully you have a CRM, a customer relationship management system. If not, it's all good, but we could start. Number 7, so that's donor retention tactics is document, right? Number 7, treat paid as if it's an option. I know I just forced you to answer the next slide differently, but don't be no pressure, right? Brings us to the next question. Do you have a dedicated paid amplification budget? Social media is what I'm talking about here. So in your, yeah, there you go.
Excellent. Yes, so you'll see the poll pop up. Please submit your questions and we'll review them. Great, just a few more seconds to get your answers in.
Sure, I'll take Google AdWords too. If you have Google Ads going, you can add that.
Great, there's our results.
23 yes, 56 no, 19 in the works, and 2% other. That's awesome. So no, I appreciate the honesty there. That's okay. Number 7, it's not an option. I'm not going to say organic reach is dead. I'm going to say that the difference between reaching, I'll give you some numbers right here for the recording. Facebook's organic reach is 0.16%. 0.16%. Twitter's organic reach is 0.046. Twitter's 0.046 organically. Instagram is 1.75 organically, and LinkedIn is 0.054. Facebook is 0.16%. Twitter's 0.046%. Instagram is 1.75%, and LinkedIn is 0.054% organically. So if your Facebook page has a following of 1,000 and you post the most amazing thing ever posted, it's still reaching nobody. So that's why it's not an option. And I'm being, sarcastic when I say nobody, but hopefully you get the gist of it. It's not 2010. You need to amplify your post. So how do you amplify? Let's talk about it. Facebook ads is you can choose your objective. So this is Facebook. The same thing applies for Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. It doesn't look the same, but the same principles are there. So you can do awareness, consideration, or conversions. For the sake of time in this PowerPoint, the webinar, we're going to talk about consideration. I'm going to use traffic and engagement and brand awareness. I'm going to talk about those 3 things. So brand awareness will show it for impressions. Impressions or reach are basically the same thing. I'm not going to get into it, but brand awareness is just showing it to the most people that it can be shown to, which is the first one under awareness. Consideration is traffic. This is going to be ran. When I say ran, it means put in front of people. This is going to be put in front of people. This is going to be ran to people that are likely to go off of Facebook onto a website. So here I am. I'm on my Facebook. I'm looking at my friends, my family. I see an ad. I know that it goes somewhere, and I click on it, and I go somewhere else. If I have the behavior to do that, Facebook will show me traffic ads. It knows that I'm a person that's likely to click off of Facebook onto an ad. If you choose engagement, which is the second thing under consideration, it's going to show it to people that are likely to like, comment, or share a post. So if you want to work on the likes, sentiment, if you want to work on comments, relationships, if you want to work on shares, digital word of mouth, then you need to run the ad for engagements because it's going to show it to people that are likely to engage with posts. If you just want to get the most reach you can because you're trying to increase direct traffic to your website, then go ahead and do brand awareness or reach. But those are some objectives that Facebook has, and Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram have the same one. Next one is you can choose your audience. So a lot of people don't know you can do this. You can pick United States, you can pick a city, you could actually put an address in there. So if you want to run an ad for people within 20 miles of where your nonprofit is, you can do so. If you want to do a city, if you want to do a state, if you want to do a region, you can do it. Ages, you can do a millennial, a younger demographic. If you're looking for volunteers, you could do that demographic. If you want an older demographic, you could do whatever age range you want, and you could do genders all, or you could do men or women, and you could segment those. So if you want to do an ad that's ran to men, and if you want to do an ad that's ran to women, you could segment that way as well. You can get granular. Let's talk about the left image here on the slide. This was put in front of fundraising professionals. So let's look at it top to bottom. United States ages 20 to 65 plus, got ran to men and women with work job titles, self-reported job titles on Facebook: development director, fundraising coordinators, fundraiser, fundraising manager, major gifts officers, or nonprofit directors. It looks like the audience size on the right hand side there, the audience size, oh, you can see the audience size is 13,000. It looks like the reach, estimated reach is 1,500 to 4,000, and the link clicks estimated is 14 to 51. I'm going to get into what those estimations mean. On the right hand side, check this out: ages 30 to 65 plus, men and women interested in philanthropy, and you must be interested in animal welfare, and you must have a net worth of over $1 million. I think the Humane Society might want to run ads to people between the ages of 30 and 65 that are interested in giving, animal welfare, and have a net worth over $1 million. That ad would probably do well. So on the left is an example of maybe who San Francisco Institute of Philanthropy would want to run ads to, fundraising professionals, right, to view this webinar. And on the right is an example of who the Humane Society may want to target. And there's everything in between. I'm going to talk about those estimates. So audience side, depending on what you choose, if fundraisers are cheaper than trying to get philanthropists. So that's what I mean, depending on you choose. But this is a good average of what's going to happen. For every $50, bottom picture, it says budgeting and schedule. For every $50, it says you're going to reach 20,000 people. That's your potential reach. And based on that reach, you're going to get a day. There's 20,000 people audience size. There's 20,000 people that match whatever you put, that are philanthropists interested in animal welfare that make over net worth of $1 million. There's 20,000 in my example right here. For $50, how many you're going to reach is the top right picture. So I'm going to say it again. Based on who you chose to target, top left is going to pop out an audience size. By Francisco, there's 20,000 of the people you're trying to reach. Cool. For $50 a day, what am I going to get? Top right. I'm going to reach between 2,463 people. Reach is branding measured in direct traffic. That's a big range. And link clicks, traffic to your website that you have heat mapping on, hopefully, is going to be 19 to 70. That's a big range. What are the variables on whether I get 2,400 or 6,300 for 50 bucks, or 19 clicks versus 70 clicks? Well, it's your ad. It's the copy, what you wrote at the ad. It's the creative, which is the image or the video that you have. And it's your targeting. How relevant was the copy, what you wrote, and the creative to who you targeted? It can be vanilla. So if it's strong copy, written, with a fine, tip on it to donate now, or I'm going to use this example right here. 2018 recap: what your contributions helped us achieve. Renew your commitment. Donate now. That copy is 2018 recap, what your contribution helps us achieve. That creative is the video, and with a call to action to donate now. If that was only ran to your email list of donors and it went to a renew your commitment page, that would do well. So I would get the high end of those estimations. I would get closer to 6,300 for 50 bucks, and I would get closer to 70 clicks a day for $50. So what I'm saying is that a little bit goes a long way, and we are at the conclusion of the webinar. It's question time.
All right. Thank you so much, Francisco. That was a lot of great information. So, of course, we want to hear from our attendees about any questions or comments you may have about just this incredible information. So please let us know via the chat box, in your GoToWebinar control panel. So I do have a quick question here for you from one of our attendees. The question is, one person in our organization controls social media content and analytics. Can you help identify some reasons to persuade the person to include development in social media and not just program content?
Yes, you need to start the dialogue of it can't live in a silo. Social media can't live in a silo. It has to speak to what everything is doing. So if PR is doing something else, if development is doing, its director of development is doing something else, if the leadership is doing something else, what are the goals? And that goes to slide number one, key number one. Let's agree on the objectives. So I would try to call a meeting or email the leadership and say, hey, I know you have an annual goal. Can I get that? Because I'm trying to get the objectives. And then set a meeting with the social media person. Say, hey, I just talked to the ED. I got this document I didn't even know existed. It's the goals of the year. So I'm really trying to remap everything we do as an organization, especially my development goals, towards what the goals are as an organization. So it looks like my, stake in the game is development. So out of these 8 goals, 4 of them have to do development. So I'm just going to talk about these 4. How can you help me, social media, reach these 4 goals? Like, oh, yeah, we could add 20% of the content calendar of our social media channels can map to, if you start with the leadership's goals are, I find there's rarely pushback. You can't, but you have to start there. It can't be your idea, so to speak.
Right. Super. Great advice. Let's see here. Another good question. With limited staff and funds, is there any one channel you would recommend that a nonprofit focus on?
Oh, such a hard question.
Yeah, I thought
I'm
so.
struggling. I'm struggling between Facebook and LinkedIn right now. I'll tell you why. LinkedIn ads are 4 to 5 times more expensive than Facebook, so you're gonna lose a lot of money doing testing. Where Facebook, you can get a click for right around $1. That same click's gonna take $4, $5, $6, $7. I don't think your leadership has a threshold on what they're willing to lose to testing, right? How much money you spent $500, nothing happened, this is over. Well, then LinkedIn's probably not the way you want to go. So most organizations want to start with Facebook because they already have one, and the ads are cheap that way, and you get some testing. What I do recommend is that you start on Facebook, you get the ball rolling, you prove out that value, and then you say, here's what we did for Facebook. What can we do? What can we do with LinkedIn? And then I'll refer back to, which is maybe not the best thing, but I'll go back. I'm already in it now, Tony. You can't stop me. I'm going back to
Go for
here.
it. Go for it.
If you want to say Q4 to Q1, this was an increase in Facebook. 635 website visits to 1,300 from Facebook alone. LinkedIn went from 12 to 13. Boss, can I get 20% of our Facebook budget? Can I put it towards LinkedIn? Can I get $500 more to put it towards LinkedIn to see what happened? I already got the testing out of the way. I know what works for our demographics. I know that we're going to target philanthropists interested in animal welfare that have a net worth of over $1 million, because I already did the Facebook advertising and we already got X results. I want to try the same on LinkedIn. They're going to say yes. But if you waste money, it's not a waste because you have reach, comments, and shares on LinkedIn. You're going to get a lot of pushback. So it depends on your relationship with the CFO, if you will, and their threshold for dollars spent in testing.
Great. Let's see. Another good question. How many posts per day?
Oh, it depends on what blog posts
Uh-huh.
you read, right? Um,
Right.
on what channel? The average lifetime of a tweet is 47 minutes, so you could tweet a lot. Obviously, you could tweet once an hour. It's not going to hurt anybody. I think the average organization can post once a day on LinkedIn and Facebook. They can. Now, if it's a bandwidth issue, it's not about it's quality over quantity. I even hate saying that because it's so cliche, but if you only post twice a week and it's really good content, I'd rather you do that than post 7 times just to post 7 times, because the average organic reach on Facebook is 0.16%. 0.16% of your 100 followers is nothing. So even if you post 7 days a week, nothing's going to happen. I'd really rather you post 3 times a week of really quality content, put some amplification budget behind that, whether that's $50 for one day or $300 over 3 days, just to see what kind of results you get. But you better have Google Analytics in place so you could see where the $300 went. $300 went towards this ad, 153 people clicked on it, and we got 17 registrations. And this happened on Google Analytics. We got this many website visitors. Heat mapping showed us this. They really can't argue if you have the tracking. What I find is people press that boost button, which I don't like, on Facebook, and they spend $300 and they don't know what happened. And that's their fault.
Here's another great question that I think you will enjoy. So, our
Oh,
marketing department prefers to only post donation solicitations if they are masked in a content-centered story or narrative. Have
okay.
you seen success in organizations making hard, unmasked, direct solicitations via social media, or do people really look for a compelling story or image?
Oh, I don't think it's either or, it's both. I think storytelling is absolutely necessary. I love the idea. Only posting social media, I hope I heard that right. If they're only posting solicitations, that's a bad idea. Your content calendar should have more objectives. And there's a whole slide on that, right? Was it to get volunteers? Was it to engage? Was that to ask? So hopefully you have, that's not all you're doing on social. Maybe I misheard that. But if your solicitations are only embedded in storytelling, when you run an ad, there's two ways to do it. You could post it on your Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter page and put money behind it, or you could it can only run as an ad and never live organically on your page. So I would recommend you test a direct response message, meaning donate now, not on your page, to the ether. Get the return on that, and if it went well, you could post it on your social media channel organically, knowing that it's going to do well. Like people aren't going to comment horrible things on it because you can see the comments on an ad. So that's what I recommend. Run it as an ad first, and if it didn't go horribly, go ahead and post it on your page organically. But what I'm talking about is called a dark post. If you want to do research on that, what is a dark post? It's running an ad as an ad, and it doesn't show up on your page, on your actual page.
Great, thanks. And then just one more question, and then we'll need to move on. But
Okay.
this attendee was asking, can you repeat what you said about the organic reach on social, specifically the numbers, like you said, 17 for Facebook?
Sure. Organic reach is 0.16% on Facebook, 0.16%. On Twitter, it's 0.046%. On Instagram, it's 1.75%. And on LinkedIn, it's 0.054% for organic reach. My point is, I'm not going to say organic reach is dead. I'm going to say organic reach is what I just gave you. So you can do the math on how many followers you have, and like we should post this. And people are just slaying social media professionals. You know, the leadership's like, why do we post this and why do we post that? I'm like, nobody saw it. Calm down. Let us get the content calendar out. Give us an amplification budget, and we'll decide what gets amplified. But let everything see the light of day. The good news is nobody's seeing it anyway. Um, and if you give us some money, we can get bigger numbers for you. And it's less important about how much reach it got and what happened on the back end. And that's why I'm really stressing Google Analytics. And that's why I took the risk of saying the words Google Analytics on the webinar.
Right. Super. Well, thank you, Francisco, and thank you, everyone, for your great questions. We really appreciate you participating. So,
Yeah.
moving right along, right, we want to keep this conversation going. So, if you have additional questions, please let us know on social media. Tag us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter using the hashtag SIPWebinar. If you'd like to contact Francisco, his contact information is available to you on the screen. You'll also receive this information when you get the slide deck and a follow-up email the next few days. So again, just a reminder, everyone on the call today will get a follow-up email with the slide deck. So Francisco, what is the most important takeaway for our webinar participants today?
Find out what the organization's annual goals were. Find that out. If they don't have them, I guess we're making them. There's my takeaway.
Great, thank you. And again, we really appreciate you being here today, Francisco. A lot of great information.
Thanks
So
everyone for
let's
coming.
see, we want to remind everyone of our upcoming webinar on May 15th. That webinar is Set Yourself Up for Success with Peer-to-Peer Fundraising with Elizabeth Hilbert. Whether you're looking to expand your donor base, grow awareness for your mission, or give your supporters a new way to get involved, peer-to-peer fundraising is a strategy you can't ignore. So please register today. So in closing, again, a huge thank you to our audience for your time and participation. To help us continue to improve our monthly webinar series and ensure we are providing value to our audience, please take a few minutes to complete our survey. In closing, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for all that you do to better the communities in which we live, work, and play. We'll see you on May 15th.
Thanks everyone.